So Nathan,
Yeah.
I got a ride here with you today, and I noticed in the car that you were a little bit angry.
You know, that was me toned down. Like, I
Oh
can
my goodness.
seriously get mega road rage.
Where's it coming from? Where's it coming from?
I think it's because I think that everybody should be, like, aware and considerate of everything around them, and I try to be. So I try to never go over the speed limit. If I can see that there's, like, a row of traffic coming on, and there's a car stopping the traffic because they want to turn, I always try to let them turn. And I think that some people are selfish, and it drives me bonkers.
So you have road compassion and road rage at the same time?
Yeah, maybe. But it's interesting because I'm going through a process at the moment of trying to wash away this road rage. And actually, it comes from your husband. He's kind of like my yogic master. And he's telling me all these things to help me. When somebody does something crazy, and your husband's in the car with me going to work every day.
Does he give you the voice in their head?
And he says, you know, it's just a mistake. They didn't normally want to do that kind of thing, but just this one time they made a mistake. And they probably won't do it again, and it doesn't matter. Or if I say, yeah, but lots of people do that, and he says, but they're not going to change. You can't drive their car. You can only...
Infuriating with his wisdom, isn't he?
Well, but it's useful because it's me changing, like, it's helping reduce my stress, but it's made me think about some other things as well.
So, do you think there's a job out there then for people who become passengers to road rages and give them this calming voice? They sit there in the passenger seat, and as you're driving along and your road rage manifests, this person has then to calm you down and talk you through it. Do you think there's a job there? Do you think you could make money from that?
I reckon 5 years ago, when the economy was pretty good, that would have been a possibility. But I think now that maybe people don't have that money to splash around.
No, road rage. We're all just stuck with our road rage then.
Stuck with my road rage.
Okay, Nathan, so we're talking about driving, and are there any rules or regulations that you'd like to change?
You know what, Jules? That's an interesting question. I'm not sure that I want to change rules, but I'd like the police to be stricter on the rules. Like, if people jump the traffic lights, I don't know why there isn't a camera at every set of traffic lights just to stop people from doing that, you know? Or like speeding. It's very, very easy to put speed cameras in places, but people seem to think that it's okay to, like, the speed limit is the minimum speed.
Maybe the car manufacturers should have some responsibility then, maybe in limiting their engine. What's the point in producing an engine that's big enough and powerful enough that you can go like 200 kilometers an hour when the speed limits are only... You never get the chance. Have you ever driven in Germany where they don't have speed limits?
I've been to Germany and been a passenger in a car, but not driven, no.
I've been a passenger on the autobahns. I really enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah.
And
is that because you're a speed demon?
Well,
yeah. Adrenaline freak.
I like the freedom,
right?
And I think it takes away a lot of the road rage element. And
right.
I think people do drive responsibly. Often people break laws simply because the laws are there. You know, if the law isn't there, people drive within their ability range. So the autobahns, as far as I know, I think they have a very high safety rate.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They have less accidents because when you've got speed limits, this creates situations that actually present dangers on the road.
Do those people then, maybe I guess in Germany, they maybe have better education about self-responsibility when driving, maybe?
Possibly. They also have very good cars, very safe cars.
Right.
And, you know, if you've got like a Porsche or something that can go at that speed, then it's so nice to be able to
use it
do
properly.
that, yeah, and safely, because you know there's not going to be somebody in that outside lane obeying the speed limit to the letter who's going to present a danger to you. You're free. You can go at the speed you want. The people who want to drive slow, they have a lane that they can drive more slowly in. So it kind of balances out. I think it's the restrictions that create the dangers sometimes, based on the autobahns.
Yeah.
Obviously, driving through a residential area or where there's a school, you've got to have. But I think those things we have in the UK, those
Speed bumps,
policemen things, those speed bumps that force you to slow down. I think they're a good idea. They're perhaps the way to go.
So you don't think finding people is useful?
Not really, no, because it relies on the police, like time, and the police don't have time to police every single driver all the time and do that.
So, Peter, you mentioned the treasure diving. How did you find out about this?
Oh, well, I had this friend, and he actually used to work for the government, but he was diving just for pleasure at that time. But then he met, I think while on a diving excursion, he met another guy who was into treasure diving, and they formed a company, and they actually become, I guess, professional treasure divers. And I think I mentioned about the sunken treasure around the tip of Africa because of the ancient sea route, but I think my friends now moved off to other parts of the world that are also known for sunken treasure spots. I think one of the areas are close to Florida in the United States, because there used to be an ancient shipping route between Europe and the United States. And they go diving for treasure around that area.
There must be a lot of mysteries under the sea.
I think so too, and I think it involves a lot of dispute, possibly because it's can become a political issue, I guess, in some ways, if the treasure is found, and who does it belong to, and the countries that originally sent the money or the gold or the treasure or the whatever, and the country that it's found in now, and also by the guys that find it. Is it finders keepers, or is it a matter of dividing up the discovery? And of course, I think there's a lot of historical value involved with the finds as well. So I think it's an interesting, fascinating kind of adventure story.
Would be quite an adventurous hobby to have.
I think so too. Yeah, I'm kind of envy his lifestyle. He seems to go from one grand yacht in one very nice area of the part of the world and goes to the next, treasure area, and that's what he does for a living.
So, Peter, I've been asking you about hunting for treasure. Can I ask you a few more questions?
Sure.
So, why are there so many sunken ships in South Africa?
Well, I guess around the southern tip of Africa, because of the really bad weather, it really changes really quickly in those parts. And with the ancient ships, I guess they weren't really prepared for that kind of weather, unexpected. Right. So I think that's probably one reason. And I think one of the other reasons probably are piracy. People that were after them, the loot, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Right, and if it's so dangerous, how do people find these sunken ships nowadays?
I think obviously with technological advances, it's easier to track where possibly where these sunken ships might be. I think they can use satellite navigation and things like that. But obviously also finding out more about history and going through historical records and finding out the old shipping routes and possibly where ships got lost. And finding it that way, I think, is more easier than it used to be.
So it sounds like an interesting combination of technology, science, history.
I would guess so.
Adventure.
Yeah. Adventure. Yeah.
So your friend does this as a hobby. Do you know if it's very expensive? Is it a big investment to?
As far as I remember what he told me, and I think it's really expensive. They formed a little company to start off with, but because it involves so much searching and basically doing historical research, also doing a lot of preparation, technological preparation, and first finding places where possible finds may be, and then actually preparing equipment, and some of it's really deep sea diving, so it involves, I think, a lot of initial capital investment to get it going. Obviously there might be a lot of return when they actually find something, but I think in many cases they don't find as much as they expected, so there's a potential for losing a lot of money. So
Right.
you'd have to have quite a bit of capital investment behind you if you start out.
Right, so you need a lot of courage and a lot of money.
Yes, but I think he's an adventurer, so I think he goes where adventure leads him, so it'd be a nice job to do, I think.
So Curtis, what companies do you really admire?
One company that I really admire is one that is from near where I grew up, Costco. Many people know them for their brand, Kirkland Signature. They're from Kirkland, Washington, close to Seattle. And one of the reasons I really like them is because they treat their employees really well. And there are many companies that don't compensate their employees very well or don't take care of them. But there's research and data now that shows that Costco has been getting benefits for taking care of their employees. They have better productivity, and they have a better bottom line at the end of things. They invest in their employees, and their employees are able to invest their work back into the company.
Are there any other companies that you agree have the same amount of investment in their employees?
I think Starbucks is actually also from the same region. It's from Seattle, and it's also very well known for taking care of its employees well, giving good benefits, paying them pretty well, giving them the option to put some of their earnings into a stock immediately at a discount so that they can get into sharing part of the company as well.
I like Starbucks as well. I like how they're constantly trying to come out with new types of drinks, with new types of themes to fit the season. For example, the other day they had some sort of like orange summery drink, and I thought that was cool how they're constantly working to make themselves better, more interesting, or to offer more to their customers.
Right. I think it's also a very comfortable brand for customers because in Seattle, many Seattleites don't really drink Starbucks unless they're in a hurry. They'll go to smaller coffee shops. But if they travel around the world, anywhere else, they always know a drink that they can get at Starbucks. So it's a sort of safe and homey company that you can get a drink that you like anywhere that you go.
Not just that, but I like how it's internationally recognizable. Like, everybody knows Starbucks, and you can say, hey, meet me at the Starbucks, and no one's going to say, oh, Starbucks, what's that?
Right, right.
So people come from all over, and they can come together and meet each other for coffee. It's
Right.
cool.
I think part of Starbucks' goal was to create a good atmosphere, too, so that it wasn't just coffee that you were buying, but you were buying the brand, the atmosphere, that people go there to study and have a comfortable environment with good music, a warm place that surrounds them.
One company that I love a lot at home is another company that sells coffee called Port City Java. And they have branded themselves as being especially fair organic. So, like, they treat not only their employees well, but they also try to get beans that have been sold at a good price for the farmers. Mm-hmm. So people get a sense of, like, doing good for, like, the world when they, like, buy a cup of coffee.
And are they spreading out, or are they just in your hometown?
Oh, no, they've gone not nationwide around the United States, but I don't think yet they've made the leap to going international.
Okay. Hi, Spencer. I thought we might talk about fashion a little bit. Could you describe to me your style or your fashion sense?
Well, my fashion sense has definitely changed over the last decade. I was kind of recently out of uni, and my uni years, it was always every night I wanted to look superb. I even dressed up for class. It was, whatchamacallit, a big university, but it was also a very old kind of university where everybody dressed up all the time, very southern, very, let's look good for every kind of occasion. And since graduating from there, I have, entered the real world, and I only dress up for work or if I'm going out, which I love dressing up for an occasion, but day to day, I also love just throwing on a t-shirt and jeans. What about you?
I think for me the most important thing is comfort. So my fashion sense hasn't really changed very much. I would still wear shorts and a t-shirt and sandals almost every day if I could. But because of my job, I have to dress up for work. But it's not really comfortable, and I feel like it's not really me. Occasionally I do like to wear a suit, but maybe once in a long while, not every day.
Yeah, it definitely, after several, weeks of kind of throwing on the same day-to-day comfortable clothes, and you have one occasion that you go out for and dress up for, it does kind of feel like, I'm worth $1,000,000, like, looking great. One time you're wearing dressed to the nines, wearing all your best clothes.
Right. At the same time, if I do dress up, I want the most comfortable clothes I can get to dress up in. Like, I want shoes that look nice, but to me, looking comfortable looks nice. If I see people who don't look comfortable in what they're wearing, I don't think they look very good. So sometimes I see people with really tall heels, for example, and people might say, oh, this looks so nice, but I feel like they must be painful. It must be really hard to wear and to walk in. And
That's so true. I hate heels. I cannot wear heels. Half of it's confidence, though. Like, I don't like being particularly taller than a lot of people. It just kind of makes me unconfident. But every now and then, like, you see a really tall person wearing a pair of heels and, shoulders high, like super, super confident, and they look great. But also, it is painful after several hours of wearing heels if you're walking around a bit.
right. Sometimes I find that with men's dress shoes as well. Sometimes they're really narrow, and my feet are a little bit wide. And so you get these really long and pointy dress shoes that narrow towards the toes. And because of that, I have a very hard time finding dress shoes for myself. I have to do a lot of shopping to find a good pair.
I got lucky. I have tiny feet. So every time I walk into a shoe store, my size happens to be the one that's on display.
Oh, I see.
It's really quite good, yeah. Oh, that looks cute. You can just try it on then and there. So yeah, it is good. So talking about clothes, Curtis, do you spend a lot of money on clothes?
I don't really spend a lot of money on clothes. I think the clothes that I buy last for a long time. And I have a lot of them, but I only add to them very slowly over the years. Some of my t-shirts I've had since high school. And so even dress shirts for work, every once in a while something will get worn out, but not very often. So I have a lot of clothes, but I don't have to spend much money on them. I would like to maybe this year or next year buy a nice three-piece suit, though. That might be a little bit expensive, but I've always wanted one of those.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't like to spend a lot of money on clothes, but every now and then it is nice to splurge on something that looks really good. Yeah, no, there's some great shops like TJ Maxx and Target, and yeah, they're, half price and not as expensive, but you can still find some great looking things.
Right. Yeah, and I think by adding to the collection that I already have, I can wear different styles on different days, and so I don't feel like I need to spend a lot of money to replace my whole collection. Because of that, like you said, you can splurge and maybe spend a little bit more on a really nice item that you want because you're able to keep recycling everything else that you have already.
That's true.
Do you think you have too many clothes by chance? Do you feel like you need to get rid of any of your clothes?
Right now I have way too many shoes, actually. I kind of feel like I have a pair of sneakers that I use for sports and tennis. I have a pair of like nice, cute shoes that I wear for when I go out and dress up. And then I have a pair of kind of everyday flip-flops that I walk around in all the time. But those three are the only things I need. But in my closet right now, I have about like probably 12 pairs of shoes. And it's ridiculous. Like, I don't need exactly 3 pairs of black shoes, one that's heels, one that's not, one that's sandals. So I have way too many shoes for one. Shirts, I have maybe too many t-shirts. They tend to accumulate. If you go to certain events, a lot of times you'll get free t-shirts. I run in a lot of marathons, and one of the things they give you is a t-shirt. So they've kind of accumulated, and I have a lot of t-shirts. What about you?
Yeah, I think I have some shirts that I need to get rid of. A few t-shirts that are from events that don't really look so nice. I never wear them, but I have them. I always feel like, just in case. Maybe if I haven't done laundry for a while, I'll need a t-shirt someday. But they take up a lot of space in my drawers, so I think I need to get rid of some of those. And as far as shirts for work, I have a few shirts that I first bought just when I started working after college. And they're nice shirts, but I tend to select other shirts before them, so they never really get worn. So what I've decided to do is turn all of the hangers around on my where I have my hangers for my dress shirts. And after 6 months, anything that hasn't been turned forward, which means I've worn it at least once, if I haven't worn it in 6 months, I can probably get rid of it.
That's a great idea.
That way I can monitor myself and see what I'm wearing or what I'm not. And if I'm not wearing, then I can donate it to a shop or give it away or send it to a recycle shop or Salvation Army or something like that.
I have a terrible habit of when I find something that fits me well and I think looks good, I'll buy several of the same thing, just in different colors. So I end up wearing the same thing all the time, just with different colors.
Right.
Yeah, I love hats. I tend to wear a hat whenever I go outside in the summer, when I play tennis, when I go to the beach, all the time. And they get so worn. I need more of them.
Yeah, I have a few hats. I don't wear them very often. For me, a hat is like a last-ditch effort to save a bad hair day. Like, I
That's
woke
true.
up late, I have to go or I'll miss the bus. Okay, here's a hat.
I do that all the time. Oh, I didn't have enough time to shower this morning. Just throw on a hat.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever know. Yeah, it's good.
So, have you seen all these freakish weather events on the news all around the world?
Yeah. I'm trying to pay attention. Yeah, it's been pretty bad in some places. I think it's been the wettest January on record in the UK at the moment.
Right. So, do you think it's kind of indicative of climate change? Are you a climate change believer or a climate change denier?
I think it's hard to deny, really. I think what humans do to the planet is going to have some effect, and science is science, it's backed up by evidence and facts, and scientists don't tend to say things until they know it's true, or as true as it can be. So yeah, I'm definitely a believer in climate change. I think that we are affecting things on the planet. How about you?
I've read quite a lot about it, and yes, there is science to support it, but there's also a lot of science to not to deny it, but there's definitely a lot of questions that aren't answered yet. It's a very sort of complex issue, I mean, these global systems of weather, and you've got all these organic processes going on.
Yeah.
That we just don't really understand, and then trying to explain all these complex events by saying it's climate change. It's I mean, what worries me is that by denying it, it seems to also be a sort of justification for us to continue living the way we are.
Yeah.
Which worries me a lot. Whether it's true or not, I think we need to be thinking about how we can live better, and that means live in ways that are less sort of damaging on our environment.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've also read a bit about, weather systems that are perhaps not because of climate change. Every planet has weather systems that come and go, and I understand that part, but I also fully agree that we have to stop being so destructive. I think it's pretty clear. You can't continue cutting down, acres and acres and acres of really valuable resources like the rainforest. I mean, we need that to breathe, so it just doesn't make sense. We definitely, I think we definitely have to stop being so destructive. So speaking of climate change, what do you think are 3 things that we can do to try and personally help climate change, prevent climate change in our lives? What do you think?
Obviously, the big concern with climate change is the carbon emissions. So that would lead me to look at my usage of fuel, because that's a huge source of carbon emissions. So probably I'd say number 1, reduce my car usage or transport usage.
Right.
I don't personally have a car, and I always take the bus to work.
It's a good start then, isn't it?
It's not I'm not doing it for in trying to reduce the effects of carbon, but it's just that
Okay.
Secondly, I think trying to source your food locally, I think that would be a huge help too, because it'd reduce the transportation of food. And I think in reality, I think we could produce a lot of what we need locally. I don't think we should be eating strawberries in the middle of winter. I don't think we should be. I think we should try and eat seasonally as well. What's available to us. But we've become so used to being able to get what we want when we want it, and it's having a huge, impact on our environment. So, how about you, Aimee? Do you have any ideas about how we could perhaps challenge? How we could perhaps address the problem?
It's interesting you mentioned about the carbon emissions. Obviously, it's really important to reduce those, and I do have a car, and I need it. I need it to get places, as most people do. And currently, I also live really, really far away from where I was born and raised. So to travel to see my family, I need to take long-haul air flights, and I guess reducing those, it's the flights, I think, that contribute more towards carbon emissions than perhaps driving my car. So it's about making that balance, I think. Seeing your family versus being green, I think. But it was an interesting point you said about also sourcing our food. I think that is something that we can definitely do. I agree with that. Locally sourced food, I think, will help reduce carbon emissions. Small things as well, like if we're going food shopping, if we have to go food shopping, then taking your own bags, stop using all the excess packaging, things like that. Where I live right now is a country that uses a lot of packaging, and it makes me sad. I think the first thing I learned to say in the language of that country was, I don't need that bag, thank you. So, I mean, it's a very, very small step, but I think if everybody tried to do it a bit more, it would help in a small way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I try to. It drives me crazy how much plastic we use, and if you think about how much energy is going into producing that plastic, I mean, people talk about cars and stuff, but this production of plastic. I mean, I had a banana the other day, and it was wrapped in plastic.
Oh no!
A banana. I mean, it's perfectly wrapped by nature.
Yeah.
Yet they felt some reason to put it in plastic. I couldn't believe it. I almost wanted to. Almost had to laugh hysterically or cry. It's a lot of it's crazy, So we were talking about climates, Aimee.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any sort of climates that you'd like to live in?
I would like to live in Iceland or Scandinavia.
Interesting. Why would you like to live in that sort of climate?
The snow is just so beautiful, and my image of those countries is that their infrastructure is sufficient enough to keep you warm when you're inside, but outside is just so beautiful. The snow is amazing. It quietens everything. I think it's glorious. Just really like it. I used to ski when I was younger, so I like skiing and I like the hills, and yeah, this snow on hills is just beautiful for me. How about you?
Well, I love snow too, but I don't like it when it gets all slushy and sloppy, and it's like, and your feet are freezing, and I think like the ideal of snow is really appealing. I'm not sure about living in it. I prefer I don't know, maybe the climate of like southern Italy, kind of Mediterranean climate. I think that would be really quite pleasant, not too hot, by the sea. Although, yeah, in the summer it does get hot, but I don't think there's the humidity like here in Japan.
Right, I was thinking about that. What kind of heat is it? Is it a dry heat? Or
I think it's a drier heat, yeah. Whereas the heat, obviously, we get here is unbearable at times, right?
Yeah, it's really bad. Yep.
So,
what's the highest temperature? What's the range of temperatures, do you think, in southern Italy? That kind of climate, do you know?
I'm not sure. I guess maybe at this time of year it starts getting up towards 20 degrees C.
That's nice.
And then I think it does, places like Sicily, I think it does get pretty hot. Probably like, high 30s. Yeah. So, and then I think the winters are probably quite mild. Unless you're up in the north of Italy, of course, near the mountains.
Yeah.
I think down in the south, I think it remains kind of pretty mild,
If it's in the Med, then it must my image of that. I've never been to Italy, so I don't know. But I've been to the south of France, and that got really hot. That was a nice temperature, and it was dry, and yeah, the nighttime wasn't too hot either. It was really nice during the day. That was a nice climate, I think.
So, being fair-skinned, do you burn easily in the sun?
I do. I get really, really freckly. Just turn into one big freckle. I have to be careful not to get burnt. Yeah, I'm careful with my sun lotion. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not a sunbather.
No.
I can't think of anything more boring, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I get it. Lying on the beach. You've got you've got the sand, you've got the surf. I did get it, but I just get too bored and too. I'd rather be more active, doing some sort of swimming or some sort of activity.
Yeah.
I
really enjoy swimming in the ocean. If I go to the beach, I don't sunbathe at all. I sit in the shade until I just want to swim in the ocean, go snorkeling, see something.
See something, explore a bit, Yeah. I mean, the sea creatures are actually fascinating, really, you put that snorkel on, it's as if you've gone into a new world.
Yeah. I couldn't do that in Scandinavia, I don't think.
Speaking of Scandinavia, I did a homestay when I was a high school student.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and it was with a Danish family. And the mother was very kind of typically Scandinavian, like stereotypically very sort of strong, blonde hair,
Right.
and every day of the year, without fail, she would swim in the sea.
Oh my goodness.
You know, there'd be blocks of like ice in the sea, and
Oh.
she'd still be swimming. Yeah.
A sturdy lass.
Yeah, she swore by it. I think she really believed that it was good for her circulation and her health. Yeah, but admiration, but I wouldn't want to follow her.
I don't think I could.
No.
Only certain times a year.
Yeah.